Oh.
Oh, it did. Yeah. And then it's
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Hot Take. Today we are in a 2016 BMW 528i with all of the options that you could have gotten on a BMW 528i, including the Msport package. The owner of this car, Steven, of this lovely 5 Series, you might remember from his E46 M3 video, is having this car on the show today. Steven, tell us a little bit about this car.
So it is a 2016 LCI. It's the last model year for the F10 Generation 5 Series. It's really weird. It has every single option you could pretty much get on a 528, other than adaptive cruise and a couple other small things. 4-cylinder turbo, 241 horsepower, 258 pound-feet of torque or something like that. ZF8 speed, and it's bone stock. Haven't done anything to it, so just kind of daily drive it, cruise it.
Yeah, it's just a nice, comfortable daily driver, and this is the performance transmission.
Yeah, Sport Auto option, so it has the paddle shifters and I guess a slightly different tune, so it's a little bit quicker than the regular one.
So I guess we'll take this thing out on the road and we'll see what it's all about. It's got some good pep. That was like half throttle, just in sport mode, letting the trans shift itself. So we'll use the pedals now.
Oh, you're in comfort.
Well, I am in comfort.
You're in comfort but sport trans.
Comfort but sport trans.
Right.
So yeah, there's that's the first point to hit on this car. There's so many electronics, so many different settings, little things, and I understand now. Jeremy Clarkson reviewed the E60 M5. He was complaining about the car doesn't come built ready for you. They make you customize it. But he looked at it in a very negative sense. But I like the trans. You could get, so this is the last one. They only came to automatic. You said the early ones you could get a manual one?
You can get a manual in a 535 or 50, but you could not get a 528 with a manual for some reason.
Oh, okay. So it's just the higher ones.
Yeah.
I think I've seen a couple before.
Yeah, they're rare, but they exist.
The ride is extremely comfortable. I mean, we're going over this awful patch road right now. Most cars, you feel, even like comfortable cars, you'll still feel some of it. This, barely anything. I mean, you're just gliding right over it.
Even with crappy run flat tires.
We have a nice heads-up display at the front here. This car has everything. I mean, we have heated seats. These are cooled as well, right?
Yep. And
Cooled seats, massaging. These specifically are the comfort seats.
these are the luxury, which are the comfort seats with cooling and massage added.
They have a different name for it.
They do, yeah.
That's great.
2 different packages.
Barely hear the motor.
You want Sport?
Oh yeah,
You'll get a little more speaker noise.
Oh yeah, we'll go to sport mode.
Go to Sport Plus, I guess.
Okay, I immediately noticed the throttle response got better.
It didn't.
Oh.
Oh, it did. Yeah, and then it slams the shifts. But it's honestly pretty funny it has that. 'Cause
It sounds a lot like a 6-cylinder, actually.
That's what I'm saying.
Wow. Honestly, that was pretty quick. The momentum and like it mashing your shifts makes it feel like you're going faster than you are. That's funny. That is not a usual feeling you get out of a big luxury sedan. Wow. Steering is pretty good, actually. That's a lot of fun. That is a lot more than I expected out of this car. And this is like stock suspension too, so even like a regular one would handle just like this. That's pretty good. So the steering input, it is a little vague and a little, I mean, you know, dead, yeah. It's not really touchy, but it offers, once you load it up a bit, load up the suspension, it gives you some really good feel. It's extremely predictable. You can tell where the front end is going. And yeah, it's, wow. Suspension's tight. The brakes are, I haven't really gotten into them yet, but the brakes are pretty solid. These transmissions are just fantastic. There's not really anything to dislike about them other than it doesn't have 3 pedals, but technology moves on, you know. Wind noise too is really like very quiet. You don't hear a lot in here. I mean, I haven't driven a lot of newer like 7 Series models, which I'm sure is even quieter because there is a little bit, but it's more of just more of to the level of that, like, you know, you're in a car, but that's about it. You're pretty insulated from everything, which is great.
I mean, okay, the electronics are really well calibrated in this car. Like, I've driven a lot of cars at this point, lived in a lot of cars, and there's like a few things you notice daily driving this that are great. Like, the heated seats in this are the best heated seats in any car I've ever experienced. Like,
really?
They are hot in probably 30 seconds or less. It's insane.
That's
like,
really
I will
good.
leave my driveway and they're already hot. Whereas most cars, like, they take a while, and by that time, you know, there's heat coming out.
Right.
Heated steering wheel's great. Cooled seats were great. The automatic rain sensing wipers were great. I've been in cars that the rain sensing wipers just are not that good.
Yeah.
The sound system, because it's so quiet in here, is really good. And the nice thing about the subs, I guess, being in the floor, is that if you turn it up to high volumes, they don't rattle the door panels, which is what happens in most cars when you turn
Right.
the volume pretty loud.
So you get
stuff like that.
just the attention to detail of everything,
that's
really.
Kind of what you notice is like everything's kind of calibrated and engineered to pretty good.
Right. Which, I mean, that's why I buy a 5 Series.
Yeah.
What would really benefit this would be and the heads-up display would show me what gear I was in.
Yeah.
So I'll have to look back at the
like pseudo tack thing that would show you like when you're
yeah, so like RPM, and then I think some of the newer ones have that.
They do. Even like the base model cars like have like a little indicator when you're close to red light.
Yeah. This is a 2016, but this car's aged really well so far, honestly. Well, I mean, the design is 2011, which is even more impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you get updates and whatever, but I mean, the screen, obviously it's not a touch screen or anything, but it's pretty responsive. You have the little touchpad, which I'm not going to touch right now because I don't know how to get back to that screen. I don't want to mess with it, but I like it. I do kind of like the gauges. I mean, they are real gauges, which a lot of the purists appreciate.
I like that you get a real oil temp gauge, like an actual.
Is that what that
gauge,
is?
Yeah, which is accurate.
Oh, that is accurate.
Yeah, it's like it moves around and everything, which is probably why they got rid of it, because I bet people were going to the dealership like, my car is sometimes
broken,
running hot or cold. I guess another interesting point about the Trans is that it does have connected shift, so it uses GPS and where the car actually is to predict and like change shift timings the way it behaves if you're an automatic.
Really?
So
wow.
I've noticed, like, depending on what city or whatever I'm in, it actually like shifts differently.
I mean, out here it probably wouldn't work because we're in the middle of kind of nowhere, sort of. Power band, I mean, below 3, it is a turbo 4-cylinder. It's pretty gutless, as you would expect. But once you get to 4,000, it really starts to kind of pick up some momentum. And then I mean, this power band is pretty. I don't want to necessarily say it's linear, but once you get towards the top, I mean, it just keeps climbing. It's a linear climb, so you can kind of, you know how the power band's gonna feel, which is good.
It's about as linear as a turbo car is gonna feel.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. So you were telling me earlier that the engines on these are not that unreliable.
If you get the right year, you have to get a 15 or 16. Like early 2015, they made changes to the timing chain guides, which is the huge like issue with the M20, which is what's in this car.
Yeah.
And they added some like sound deadening, and I want to say change of piston rings. So it's like more refined sounding and everything, because it's also like the early ones were notoriously like kind of diesel-y, marbly sounding.
So I drove an X3 a while back with this same drivetrain, and that's how that one felt. Flattered. It kind of sounded like a diesel. That's a good way to put it, actually. Very clattery and noisy, and not how you would expect a luxury car to feel. I do like the Msport, the triple black.
Yeah,
I think if I were to get one, I'm not a huge black car person. I don't like black cars, but this car, it works.
It's like, I always call it, like, kind of picture this car as like a tuxedo. It's very like sinister but classy. Like you pull up to a nice dinner or something. And
right.
It's like you're wearing your best tux.
Wearing your best tux. We're wearing the best paint color.
Yeah.
Gotta step into the brakes a little bit. Oh, there goes my phone. Yeah, the brakes definitely do not feel, I don't want to say up to par, they feel like they're correctly sized.
Yeah.
Which is fine, but you gotta be kind of mindful that you don't have big sports car brakes that are just gonna shed speed off instantly. Now this one I really like, because this one's a nice like sweeping turn. You kind of just feel the lateral movement of a car. I mean, it has a fair amount of body roll, which is to be expected. Nice dip. Honestly, it's just fun. It's a daily that you could take on some back roads, have a little bit of fun with. It is very comfortable, a lot more comfortable than your M3. That is for sure.
Yeah.
The car is moving along at its own pace, and you're kind of just along for the ride. But it offers you enough feedback in the steering and the suspension and everything, where you kind of get the sensation of, oh, I am in control of this car. And I think that's really where BMW historically and here did a really good job. There's enough there to make a heavy car feel light. Like if you just stuck me in this car and told me guess how much it weighs without looking at it, like just driving experience alone, I would probably say like 3,700, but I bet this thing weighs over 4,000.
It's like 4,000.
It's a luxury car that also makes you like driving it. And that's really, I think that's really what this car is all about. Oh. It's pretty quick. So in first gear, when I kind of left it, did I hit the limiter?
Yeah, it will not upshift for you.
So I noticed in third, it took it out to like 7, but it kicked on a bit lower. In first gear, is there a lower limiter?
Probably. I think, yeah, on its own, left to its own devices, like it does not rev all the way out in first gear.
Okay, so sport mode will just have it hold a lower gear.
Yep.
So if I do that. Oh, I didn't hit the kick down switch that time. Interesting. Maybe it was just where it was. I was trying to get it to like kick down, but maybe I was. Maybe in sport mode it just already gives you the lowest gear.
I mean, it is kind of nice that like the Sport Trans is almost independent of the mode. So if you
Yeah.
you don't have to be in the Sport Trans mode and holding low gears to be in Sport Plus, which is kind of nice.
Right. Feels like a manual almost.
Yeah.
Nice backup camera.
Yeah.
There you go. 240 horsepower is not, it's not a little amount, but it's not a lot. Especially once you get above 60, where the shorter gearing kind of starts to not do as much work. You feel it doesn't pick up as good. I mean, we went to probably about 80 there. I bet once you start getting faster, that's where you'll start to feel the 4-cylinder power kind of fall off. But honestly, we're in America. That's as fast as you're going anyway. Who cares? You don't have to pay as much for maintenance as the N55.
Yep, 6.
I'm learning.
Certainly the N63.
Yeah, exactly. So you don't have to pay for that extra maintenance, and you still get most of the experience. I mean, this car I love that has all the options. It's really cool.
Yeah. It's like 7 Series luxury through 3 Series efficiency. Kind of just somewhere baked in the middle.
Oh, there was the kickdown switch.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, there we go. So we have concluded the drive of this 2016 528i or 528i M Sport, and honestly, it drives a bit better than I expected it to. The 4-cylinder, I was pleasantly surprised by the engine. I kind of thought it was going to be a little bit of a dog. Down below 3, it is pretty slow, but once you get to 4 and you get higher in the RPM range, it starts to really pick up. The 8-speed, the gearing really helps this car. Comparing this to the B8 A4 that we drove in the last video, I would say that it's a little slower, but it doesn't feel slower because the gearing's a lot shorter. But it's It rides better, and I actually think from a driver's feedback standpoint, it's very similar. A little less steering feel and a little less pedal feel, but honestly, it's very comparable. And I don't think that driver's feedback, in relativity to cars like this, is a fallback. I think it's a definitely a high point for this car. Thank you, Steven, for coming onto the show again.
You're welcome.
It was a lot of fun to drive this car, but let's go ahead and move on to the score. Starting with the daily scores. Utility. The comfort level in this 5 Series is superb. Wind noise is minimal and bumps in the road are hardly felt in the cabin. With the all-wheel drive and all the modern safety tech in here, you really have a fast and safe daily driver. There's also plenty of cargo room. However, a bit disappointing is the rear headroom. While it is not bad, I'm 6'2" and my head hits the ceiling. Not a good look, but it still does get a 7.5 out of 10. Features. This car has a lot of them. Heated, cooled, and massaging front seats, rear seat heaters, adaptive shifting, parking detection with cameras, soft closed doors, and so much more. It gets an 8 out of 10. MPG. Even with this car's size, the 4-cylinder powertrain is able to pull 27 combined according to the EPA. This gives it a 7 out of 10, bringing our daily categories to 24 out of 30. In the weekend scores, we will start with the cool factor. This 5 Series isn't really anything special since it's aging and entering used car territory, the 528 even being the base model. But given the amount of tech, the uncommon Msport package, and it generally just kind of looking striking, the scores helped a little bit, giving it a 4 out of 10. Driver's feedback. Being a big car with lots of gadgets, there isn't much driver's feedback. That said, when you load the suspension up and start putting the car through its paces, it gives you some feedback through the steering wheel. There's enough there to entertain the driver, and transmission is very responsive with the paddles, giving us a 3 out of 10. Acceleration is also better than you would expect. Because of the gearing of the ZF 8-speed and the all-wheel drive, this car is 0 to 60 in just 5.8 seconds. After 80 it falls off, but for a Turbo 4 and a car that weighs 4,000 pounds, it's very impressive. This 5 Series earns a 5 out of 10, totaling up our weekend scores to 12 out of 30. Finally, should you buy it? This 5 Series is not that expensive to own relative to other 5 Series models, and even mid-size luxury sedans. Since this one is a later style with the updated timing chain design, it's immune to the problems the early ones had. Long term, we will see how they hold up, but with them ranging in the $20,000 territory, it's actually pretty good value for the amount of car you're getting. However, it is still a 5 Series, so the consumables are expensive and dealer labor rates for any luxury brand is astronomical. Balancing both sides of the coin, I will give it a 9 out of 15, totaling us up to 43 out of 75. This ties it with the Fiesta ST, yes, our first competition for the almighty Fiesta. While I wouldn't tell most people to buy this over a Fiesta ST, it is a lot more car than a Fiesta ST. This 5 Series is a good option for anyone that wants a high-end luxury sedan, but without the added cost. It still isn't as inexpensive as lower model brands, but with this interior, you wouldn't expect it to be. The 528 is on its way to become a used car bargain, and I suggest if you're in the market to give this car a chance.